Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. So let's get started. We go least favorite to Best Pick of the Week, and this week I had a smaller haul. It was about, I think, 9 or 8 books. Let's see. Believe it was 9. I actually threw in an extra book in there that I don't normally read. I'll tell you about that once we get into the review. But let's talk about number 9. So number 9 for me this week was Empyre X-Men issue 4. Sad to see this so low. Overall, liked the series. I enjoyed it as a tie-in. I think there were some fun character moments, especially for Magic. But honestly, with this issue, Scarlet Witch comes back, and I completely forgot she was in this miniseries and that she started this whole thing. So we get a little tidbit of that. I don't really feel like it went anywhere really, but there's some good character moments, especially with, I didn't even know who this kid was until I looked it up in the character selection boxes here. So we have Explodey Boy, and we get a little interesting tidbit with him and his zombie version of him, or maybe Explodey Boy was the zombie person. I didn't know who either of them were. They seem related in some way. They had some fun conversations. Magic had some fun times. Overall, kind of a filler tie-in, which I didn't expect, because issue 1 I thought, oh man, so much is going to happen. And then we get here, I'm like, oh, I mean, I had a fun time. If you like these characters, it's good, but is it worth picking up? Depends how much you need your X-Men fill. So I'm giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8. So number 8 for me, also another X-Men book that's a bit lower that I'm disappointed to see, because I like the last issue. Seems like I only like the even issues. And that is Cable issue 3. Because issue 1, I was like, oh, that was okay. Really enjoyed issue 2. Now we're here with issue 3. And I felt like it really diverged from what I was enjoying from that issue 2, which was this whole baby mystery. We don't really see the baby until the end of this issue. And then it dives into a little bit more of the main plot, which is old Cable and young Cable. And that young Cable is having, I guess, this dream about old Cable, wanting him to die. And then we have young Cable and Esme teaming up, and it's a rather quick issue to read. I feel like not much happened in this one. It's really all set up. I like the cliffhanger with the baby. I kind of wish it focused more on those emotional beats, because I think that's what made issue 2 succeed. But overall, kind of a forgettable installment overall. I do like the artwork though. I really like that Phil Noto is doing the interiors for this. Someone who usually does cover work. It's kind of cool to see him do interiors as well. So Cable issue 3 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7. So number 7 for me this week, another book that I didn't expect to be this low, but I did do a video on it, and that is Teen Titans issue 44. Yes, this is one of the books that are meeting its culling with November, and I feel like it definitely kind of lost its way a bit with this issue, where it felt very fillerish. A lot of things that we've kind of already seen established repeated in this issue. So we have Robin running away once again. He's like, I don't want to be part of this team. I want to kill. And then the rest of the team's like, well, I did that and didn't quite work, especially Red Arrow with Deathstroke, even though Deathstroke's still alive. So if she finds that out, is she actually a murderer? Technically, she did kill this person, but he's alive. So, you know, that'll be interesting to look into. But yeah, the end was cool. Another thing we've definitely seen before with the Batman cliffhanger saying, Teen Titans are no more, and we'll see how that works out. There's only, how many issues? If it's until November. We have the annual this month still. We have 3 more issues. I don't know where exactly it's going. I do think it's losing a little bit of steam. And this is actually one of the series where I kind of understood why it was ending. We've seen their full arcs, honestly, play out when the whole Roundhouse story ended. So we'll see how this one ends. Teen Titans issue 44 gets 2.5 stars. Artwork also is not as strong as usual. I felt like it was a little rushed as well. Didn't really get into those facial expressions as much. Really liked the coloring for that Deathstroke page though. That was pretty cool. Alright, so that is number 7. We are speeding by through these issues this week. And number 6 for me this week was Power Rangers Drakken New Dawn issue 1. Solid story. Artwork a little shaky. Definitely with Power Rangers, I'm used to very strong artwork. We have some really great heavy hitters here. Daniele, who's now doing Seven Secrets, was a big artist on Power Rangers. We had Dan Mora, who was on Power Rangers. So definitely used to sleeker artwork, and I felt like the art was a little messy. Couldn't really get into the facial expressions. Also coloring, very dark, hard to really get into the story, even though the story's pretty decent. It's Ranger Slayer trying to redeem herself once again, and she wants to let go of all these prisoners that Lord Drakkon had held. She finds this Power Ranger prisoner, mystery man, and we'll see where that one goes. We don't know who he is, why he's been captured, and is Kimberly kind of redeeming herself a little bit too much? Is it right for her to release all these prisoners? We'll have to see if that ends up biting her in the end somehow. Is she trusting this new Power Ranger a little bit too much? I'm curious to see where that aspect goes as well. There's some good character beats, but I don't feel like it was as strong as the one shot because it is a new creator, a new creative team. And again, the artwork it was hard for me to really sink my teeth into this one because of that. So Power Rangers Drakken New Dawn issue 1 gets 3 stars. Obviously, I'll finish off the miniseries. I love Kimberly. I do like the story overall, but a little bit of a shaky start. Moving on to number 5, and that is Batman, issue 97. So Batman this week, it's definitely a theme of this episode. A little slow this week. It takes a while to kind of get there. We do have an interesting tidbit of this. I don't know who, maybe they have announced who this person is, but this kind of like Robin type sidekick who is actually killing people and killing the Joker's minions. And I thought that was a really interesting tidbit, especially because we have a character like Punchline who's like a version of Harley Quinn in some ways. So now we're getting to see like a darker version of Robin. And I think that's cool if that's the direction they're going with. And then once Harley and Batman team up, that's where the issue for me particularly picks up, because the rest is like, oh, I already saw the Joker and Batman do this in the last issue. We have another 5 to 6 pages of Batman going batshit crazy, where that felt a little repetitive. But once we get into the Garden of Eden, especially coloring-wise, I really enjoyed that scene. And I just like seeing Harley and Batman interact. They were very different personalities, so I enjoyed that aspect. And then the cliffhanger was pretty interesting, where Batman is trying to clean out the drugs out of his system. Harley has helped him out, and he sees Alfred, and they need to talk. So I'm curious to see the emotional resonance that will happen in the next issue with Alfred and Batman, because Batman definitely has not dealt with the death of Alfred well, which he doesn't deal with death very well in general, so I'm not surprised by that. But overall, I think it does pick up the issue by the middle, but it takes a bit of a while, and it is a bit of a point A to point B issue. I don't feel like a ton of stuff happens in this one, but still enjoying Joker War, intrigued by some of the plot points brought up in this issue. And artwork is crazy and really creepy, which I like, and it works for this kind of psychedelic part of the story. Alright, Batman issue 97 gets 3 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Dead Day issue 2. So I really enjoyed issue 1 of Dead Day. I thought it was a really interesting concept, and there's a lot of interesting plot points brought here. Now it is issue 2. It's a little bit of that issue 2 slug here, where you brought up the premise. Now we have to get to point B, right? But I really enjoyed some of the points really brought up here. And one in particular, I don't know if she's really our main character, but the mother who runs off with her other lover and's gonna be on a mission with him. And I kind of like this idea of how she did meet somebody else but still loves this person, and showing these two parents who seem very, average Joe parents, suburban household, they have a past, and, they've had lost loves, and that's complicated and muddy, especially if your lost love died, and we don't really know how he died, especially with this helmet still on his head, but I find that so fascinating, and I'm curious to see where that goes and how that affects the family and how it affects their marriage in particular. And then we also have a little bit of romance with the kid and him getting into some trouble, which I'm sure we're going to learn more about Dead Day and the mythology of this series through him, and I'm very interested in that. Artwork is a little plain for this book, but overall I think it works for it, especially when you get to the emotional beats. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty good issue and excited to see where the characters are going to end up going. That's where I'm particularly interested in. So Dead Day issue 2 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Thor issue 6. So this is the book that I picked up on random. So my store, I had a good amount of issues, and I'm like, all right, I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Thor in general, but this issue in particular, I know this was like the big issue of the week, and I'm like, I don't have many books this week, so I'm going to try out Thor. Now, I have read Thor issue 1, so I'm not totally behind on this book. I kind of know what's been going on in it. But I haven't read issues 2 through 5, and I would say I wasn't lost by any means. I know that Thor has held some power here. He is even more power than being the God of Thunder, and he's as powerful as Galactus from, I believe, the first issue. And now we're really seeing that power come to the forefront. This actually is a pretty quick read. This was the first issue I read because, again, it was a book that I hadn't read in the past, so I didn't want it to be so in my pile where after I've read like 6 books, I'm like, oh man, Thor. So I really wanted to be fresh as possible for this one, so I read it first. And it really didn't take me that long to read. It's a very action issue, but there's a lot of big things to happen in the more cosmic scale, and definitely the grander scale of Marvel, where Thor defeats Galactus, man. That was a crazy battle. And then by the end of the issue, we get to see Thor is tempted. And I thought this was really interesting because you know, you have the human question. If somebody told you, I could tell you how you die, would you say yes or no? I think a lot of people would say no, at least I would. And we get to see him say yes, and we get to see this big kind of Marvel Zombies story going on in the background, but then the most important element having Thanos with Thor's hammer with all the Affinity Gems in it, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Now, will I say, am I going to pick up issue 7? I don't know. Again, Cosmic Marvel, not totally my thing. But this is a really interesting issue, and definitely a powerful issue for Marvel in general and the direction of Marvel. So definitely see why this was important and why it's so high up on my list. There are some big moments here, and I'm interested to see where it ends up going in affecting the overall Marvel Universe, but I don't know if it tempted me enough to get the Thor series, but I'm glad I read this issue. Artwork also is stunning, and there's some really good double-page spreads here, which I feel like we don't get to see enough in recent days of comics. I don't know. When I got 2 of them in this issue, I was like, whoa, I feel like it's been a while since I've had that in a mainstream book. So that was pretty cool. Overall, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, this book came out last week, and I'm not complaining that it came out this week, and that is Captain Marvel issue 20. I've been really liking this arc for Captain Marvel overall. I mean, I love Kelly Thompson's writing, and I really like her voice on this book, and I thought it had a really good balance of action and humor and character development. So we get to see Carol's sister, who's become my new favorite character of the year. Thompson's so great at creating new characters. We had Jeff, now we have her, and I really like how her physical, or her physique in general, contrasts what she likes, right? So we have Hazmat say, hey, like, what are your hobbies? Like, trying to have some small talk. She's like, I like flowers. There's a lot of great, like, little panels like that and just small interactions with her, and just her learning about the world is so intriguing, and like, I have a whole issue about that. But then in contrast, we are getting a little bit more with Empyre and the Accuser stuff, and Carol trying to redeem her sister's name. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, and then that does actually connect with her sister, as these plant creatures are harming her friend and her friend's daughter. So that's going to be interesting. Also, really like the artwork here. It really does a great job at, again, the comedic beats and the expressiveness for the emotions. Another scene I really liked was Carol's sister pretty much watching The Bachelor and her commentary about The Bachelor. So I enjoyed that as well. Overall, really solid book. And if you're not reading Captain Marvel, definitely read this run, especially this arc. I feel like it's pretty new reader friendly for a tie-in of Empyre. Just go back 2 or 3 issues, because we are in the middle of the arc, so it's pretty new reader friendly if you read part 1 of the arc. So Captain Marvel issue 20 gets 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, my pick of the week this week was Spider-Woman issue 3. Damn, I really enjoyed this issue. There's some twists and turns in this one I didn't expect. So I will say there was parts where I thought was a little slow at first, where we have our villain, I don't know if I'd call him our villain, but antagonist of Spider-Woman, who is making her do this job that she doesn't want to do to protect his daughter, and also for Spider-Woman to protect her son. We get to see he's keeping a secret, and Spider-Woman's doing the hardest to protect the daughter and to try to listen to his rules, and she's getting a little frustrated at this point. She's like, I can only help you if you tell me what's going on. So they take this trip after there's some backstabbing at the guy's company, and then in the end of the issue we find out that they're actually all related, and that is Spider-Woman's brother, and the daughter of him is actually her niece. And we get to see Spider-Woman's mom, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy, and I can't wait to see where this goes. And I'm so happy they introduced these characters, especially not really on level footing here. You know, they weren't really friends. Spider-Woman's being forced to do this job, so I really like that. I'm curious about this family journey and where this is all going to go, and if these characters will be a bigger members of the series past this arc. And I want to see more of Jessica's mom. I feel like, you know, Jessica has this tragic backstory, but they tend to only reference it. You never really dig deeper into, like, actually seeing her parents in present day. So I thought that was really cool. And artwork overall, pretty solid stuff. I've enjoyed the artwork, and some good action mixed in between, and like I said, some good drama and some good cliffhangers. So overall, given that 4 stars, that is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Thanks, guys. Bye.